How's it going, everyone? Welcome back. Hope everyone's having a lovely day. We got a question on both sides of the football entering this football game. This is a Bengals team, this is a Ravens team, arguably the two hottest teams in football. Entering last weekend, going against Cleveland, going against Houston, both teams playing at home, both teams going in that football game feeling good about things, thinking, hey, Cleveland, great football team. Baltimore don't lose to Cleveland home, no. Bengals against the Texans. Texans 4-4. Texans, one of the worst teams in the league last season. Texans turning things around, no question about it. CJ Stroud playing some good ball, but even Texans fans had the Texans written off against the Bengals, saying this is just too good of a football team for the Texans to handle. And the Texans go in there and make it look easy against the Cincinnati Bengals. Both teams really with their identities put in question last week, where hey, Ravens are good there, get pressure on a quarterback, lock things down defensively, and win that football game. Ravens, Lamar Jackson gonna go there, not make a lot of mistakes, threw 2 interceptions, gonna run the football well, didn't do that last game. Go out there, lose to Cleveland 31-33. Bengals say kind of the same story, minus the run game. So, hey, Joe Burrow's going to take care of that football. Defense is going to lock things down, give CJ Stroud some things he ain't seen so far this season, do what they do well, which is lock down the run game. They've been playing good ball. They've been locking down the run game. Devin Singletary goes out there and has the game of his life. 30 carries, 150 yards. Bengals did not have an answer for him. And now both teams go into Thursday Night Football on a short week and have to really quickly figure out what the heck went wrong last game. Because these are two teams that, once again, playoff aspirations, and you're still in great position to make playoffs. Both of them got a gauntlet of a schedule. Let me tell you what, though. It's early in the season. I mean, we're halfway through the season. Every game matters. But to be this part of the season with a lot of games left, it really feels like this one, for these two teams in specific, is for the division. Now, Cleveland or Baltimore, or Cleveland or Pittsburgh could obviously jump ahead and take care of things as well. Two very good football teams. As far as the Bengals and Ravens are concerned, I mean, the Bengals, if they lose to Baltimore, they're going to be 0-3 in the division. That's hard to come back from. They're going to be 5-5. They still got to play the Chiefs. They still got to play the Jaguars, the Minnesota and Indianapolis. They're going to play Cleveland again and put Pittsburgh twice. Pretty tough schedule. It ain't nothing. It ain't nothing compared with them Baltimore Ravens about to be playing. Now, Ravens lose Bengals will be 2-3 in the division. They're going to play Jacksonville. They're going to play the 49ers. They're going to play the Dolphins. They're going to play the Rams. They're going to play the Chargers and play the Steelers. I mean, the Rams, you could look at that and say, Rams is the most winnable game. And even the Rams have given teams fits when they're playing good ball. They got a gauntlet. The Ravens, there's a lot like the Bengals the last 2 seasons. The Ravens got a gauntlet the rest of the season. They need to win this football game. All that being said, we say the NFL is a week-to-week league, and there's overreaction Monday for a reason, because at the end of the day, Baltimore's still 7-3. Bengals still 5-4. Bengals still winners of 4 of their last 5. Ravens still in very good position to make playoffs. Ravens still one of the most under-the-radar teams in the league. Wasn't being talked about enough, really, how good a football they was playing this season. And when that defense is playing defense, I mean, they lead the league by a mile in sacks right now. They got 39, next team's at 31. They're second best defense in the league from a yards per game standpoint, only to the Cleveland Browns, which, hey, if there's any sort of sigh of relief, you're looking at Baltimore and say, hey, well, we just put up 31 against a team that was best defense in the league. They found some cracks in that one. You can move the football up and down the field against the Cleveland Browns. You got a lot to be proud of there. Bengals, as bad as that game was to start, as slow as it was at the start, they got to the fourth quarter and they really started to move that football down the field. They started to stretch that field. They had a couple 60-plus yard pass plays, one to Boyd, one to Chase there. And you don't want to put the pressure on Tyler Boyd like that, because there was too much that went on in that game. But when Tyler Boyd dropped that touchdown pass, Bengals may have went out and won that football game. Bengals are on 2 possessions with 4 minutes left in the game when Joe Burrow threw that interception. They still found a way to get right back in that football game and tie it. So all things considered, the Bengals put on a show. And the Bengals, if there's anything to look back on there, is saying, hey, this team still has it. They got to figure it out. They got to be able to stretch the field. They got to be able to stretch the field. They got to be able to run some play action. They got to be able to stretch the field. That's what we see against the Ravens, and I think that's what not the Ravens, the Texans. The Ravens are going to game plan against that as well. Ravens are a really well coached team. The Bengals are getting a little too happy with the dink and dunk passes. They try to quickly design these screens, these quick dump offs for 2 or 3 yards, where they don't really give Burrow a chance to drop back into them deep shots. And when they did last game against the Texans secondary that's beat up, he tore them up. So I think that's something you need to see early. And I think part of that seeing it early is, and the reason the Bengals feel like they can't do it is because they struggle to run the football. But that's not going to change. They got to be able to willingly draw up some design deep shots. And if it's not there, it's not there. Obviously, Joe's smart enough to know, don't take the chance early if you don't have to. But I think they have to be willing to do something like that because it does change the game. When they complete, even if you can't run the football, it's like, well, we can pass the football. We got Joe Burrow. It's like, well, every team's planning on every shot to be a dink and dunk. They're not a game plan against that. And especially a Baltimore Ravens team that is going to get pressure on the quarterback. And the Bengals have done it in the past. Burrow's lit this team up in the past. They got to respect it, though. They got to respect that deep ball, and they have to respect it early. Because if you start forcing those second and longs, those third and longs, and you allow this defensive front in Baltimore to get some pressure on the quarterback, Burrow's going to have a hard time. But if there is a guy that can do it, it's Joe Burrow. I mean, Bengals, again, it's a must-win for the Bengals without question. They're going to be 5-5. That'll be 0-3 in the division. And we're going to playoffs as a wild card team because that's what's going to happen. And when the big games come around, when big game Joe Burrow has to show up, when the clutch moments come to Cincinnati under the lights, by the way, 0-14 under the lights on the road in Cincinnati over the last 14 games. You think Joe Burrow and this Cincinnati football team ain't thinking about that? You think they don't play the chip on their shoulder? Because they will. When the brightest of bright moments come around, Joe Burrow seems to have the games of his life, and that's what he needs to do in this football game. We need 400 plus yards out of Burrow. They just need to accept the fact that the run game is probably not going to work in this one. It's too shaky and still, but it hasn't worked in most games this season. Now, the difficult part of that is a couple things. One, T. Higgins looks like he's likely going to be out. It's going to be one less weapon for Joe Burrow to throw the football to. Now, we've seen Tanner Hudson getting involved last week. Tyler Boyd still makes some plays. I think Tyler Boyd bounced back in a big way. Tyler Boyd was a guy that, is notorious for never dropping a football in Cincinnati. So we've seen a couple of them very uncharacteristic out of him. I think we see a big bounce back game out of him. I know he's playing with a big chip on his shoulder. He's definitely not taking something like that lightly. So I think we can see a big game out of Tyler Boyd, but we need to see this Bengals offense move the football up and down the field, and they do need to do it seemingly every drive. They can't be punting 3 or 4 straight times against this Baltimore team, because if they do, I think this is a Baltimore Ravens team that will get the run game figured out. They will control the clock, and they'll dominate this football game. The Bengals, and this seems like to be every single game with Baltimore Cincinnati. Could we just get both of these teams to be fully healthy one time? One time can they be fully healthy? The Bengals have been playing the Ravens a lot without Lamar being healthy. The Bengals just played with Joe Burrow. He was immobile in that first game of the season against the Ravens where they lost 27-24. He couldn't move around. You didn't get a fully healthy Joe Burrow. This time around, we're going to be without likely Marlon Humphrey, Ronnie Stanley. I mean, 2 of the best players on this Baltimore Ravens defense and offense. Bengals going to be without Trey Hendrickson, Sam Hubbard, T. Higgins. I mean, game-changing players not playing for this Cincinnati Bengals defense. We wondered what happened last week. Devin Singletary ran for 5 yards per carry, 150. A Houston Texans team that could not run the football to save their life all season. They were willing to try to establish it this week, and I wish they wouldn't have. But that's because Sam Hubbard, one of the best run stoppers in the game today. Bengals played without him. We remember what they did without DJ Reader. DJ Reader, one of the best interior defensive run stoppers. He's gone. Bengals was a difference maker. And now you're going to be without your best defensive pass rusher, but your best defensive run stopper. It's going to be tough to slow down this Ravens offense. It's going to come down to what the Bengals defense has done this season and done really well, which is play what I like to call a championship caliber defense, where they force a couple turnovers, force a big stop inside the red zone, and get those field goals going. Force a couple momentum shifts, if you will. And the Bengals offense needs to capitalize. They need to capitalize. They need to keep their foot on the throttle, and they need to keep moving the football down the field. That being said, though, I do think once again we see a big game out of Gus Edwards. Do we see Mitchell get involved more? Not the best of games last week for Edwards. It was against, again, a Cleveland Browns defense. But do we see a little bit of it mixed in there, sprinkled in there? I don't know. But I think we can see Edwards go for over 100 in this one. There's too many injuries on his Bengals front. Like I said, it's got to be a game. I feel like Joe Burrow has to be primetime, championship winning Joe Burrow. Houdini Joe Burrow. He needs to be everything Joe Burrow in this football game if the Bengals want to win this one. Otherwise, it's hard to bet against a Ravens team that has just had the Cincinnati Bengals number when Lamar Jackson's under center. Lamar's lost one football game against the Bengals. Mark Andrews goes off typically against the Bengals. He makes the big plays when he needs to make them. He did get held in check to 45 yards the first game this year good on the Bengals defense on that one, but it just feels like it's going to be a little bit too much for the Bengals in this one. It just feels like the matchup favors the Ravens too much in this one because that's what they want to do. They want to run the football. They want to kill that clock. They want to give their defense some time to rest up so they can get pressure on the quarterback. And they're going to be able to do that in this game. I mean, all in all, I think, the Bengals just say, well, I hope the Ravens get the ball first. I hope the offense can go out there and get a long, sustainable drive, win the key 4 minutes of the game, right? The final 2 minutes of the first half, final 2 minutes of the fourth quarter. The Bengals need to do that. And they need to get a stop. They need to get a stop via the turnover, a big turnover in this football game. Like I said, Bengals offense has to keep the defense off the field if they want to win this one. I don't know. I can't see it right now. I need the Bengals. If they beat the Texans last week, I would have felt a little bit differently, but I think I need to see the Bengals a little less banged up to beat the Baltimore Ravens. I'm going to say the Ravens win this one 27. We ain't going to do that. That was the last score. I'm going to say the Ravens win this one 27-23. Love the y'all's thoughts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.